Hi, Dr. Francis Yu here. In this video, I am going to be talking about the Enneagram Type 1 and the lesson that is very important for Enneagram Type 1s to take away, but also for the lesson for all of us from the Type 1. And for the Type 1, the core consideration is goodness. The main lesson here is that this is a goodness that exists even when things are not good. In other words, it is a goodness that is good enough. It is a good enough for right now. It does not mean things can't improve or there isn't room to make things better, but it's the acknowledgement of right now who I am, what's going on in this very moment. There's this innate goodness in it that cannot be taken away. So for the Enneagram Type 1, this is the issue in which this goodness is really perceived to be lost. And they go back to this concern about not good enough. It needs to be better. It must be improved. I'm responsible for fixing this or making sure that things are happening the right way. And this can show up in a variety of ways. For example, fixing people's grammar, correcting small mistakes, always reminding people about following certain rules, whether they be laws, principles, religious or otherwise, or any other sort of principled or organized or a set mode of what is deemed to be good. And now with this constellation of rules or principled, it then leads to these other habits, behaviors, and constellations of thoughts about why can't that person do a better job? Or I think they can do better. Why isn't my work good enough? I know I can be better. Why am I so bad at XYZ? Even if let's say you got an A, then you're mad because you didn't get an A plus for following the rules and doing everything correctly. And this leads to a self-demonization almost, and a agonizing over perfection, making sure everything's good, right? And the discrepancy here is kind of like a righteousness of just what is. Things are righteous, good, have integrity the way they are, which is the real Type 1 lesson, versus those are self-righteous and are pursuing this righteousness that is what their ego conceived of, that this is what is right, this is what is good, and even I can't fulfill those regulations and principled. And it just oozes out this improvement, gotta improve, gotta make things better, and it can turn into a criticism, self-criticism, and all those things. And as a physician, as I've worked myself and seen other doctors in the work, and these are ways it can show up for doctors. Let's say someone agonizes over their note. Maybe they're writing a progress note or an H&P or a discharge summary or whatnot, and they spend much more of their attention and their energy in getting that work done, meaning the work that is done is good enough for all its purposes. There's no grammatical mistakes. There's no spelling mistakes. It delivers the purpose of the document. Yet, as someone who has a obsession with making it perfect might spend hours and spend way too much of their energy to making this document perfect. So that is I would say, a classic example of a oneness. And the lesson we need to learn is that you can keep going and going and going, and you're going to try to hit this optimal perfection. But the next day, maybe your idea of perfection will be even higher. And then how can you attain this perfection? So the lesson for the type 1 and from the type 1 is to realize that you're good, things are good, even if there are flaws. Now, I believe a lot of anything that is really true has a degree of contradiction or a paradox in it. And this is one of those things where things are good even if there are flaws. And that is the lesson the type 1 teaches us, that we are good, you are good, things are good, even when we don't think they're good. There's this goodness that cannot be taken away. And you can get into some nitty-gritty and things like that about this is, oh, things are so good, why are bad things happening? And are you saying we shouldn't do anything about these bad things? No, that's not what I'm saying. There are bad things that happen, and a lot of them are caused by people. But that's not what I'm talking about, that we shouldn't try to improve those things. But by knowing that there is this goodness that exudes, that is a potential and a simultaneously something actual, and that we can hang on to, and we can know what goodness is because of this goodness that exists. It is just that when we construct our idea of, we try to pin down what this goodness means perfectly, is when we get lost. Then we get obsessed with trying to make things perfect and good, that we get almost the actual attempt to do that becomes it kind of gets derailed. So again, the main lesson for the type 1 and for the type 1 and from the type 1 is the good enoughness, and this goodness that's there regardless of what's going on. And that the flaws can be improved or worked on, but they're in an innate way, the flaws don't make things not good. That is the lesson for the type 1, but also from the type 1 for all of us.